Jacob Rothschild is a key figure behind the money in Africa. This businessman has immense influence in this continent and owns pretty much everything there. Let's take a look at this man's story. Early life. Jacob Rothschild is the Jewish man who owns everything in Africa. He is also known as the fourth Baron Rothschild. He is a British investment banker and a member of the renowned Rothschild banking family. Born on April 29, 1936 in Berkshire, England, he is the son of the third Baron Rothschild, Victor Rothschild, and Barbara Judith Rothschild. The Rothschild family, with roots tracing back to Frankfurt, Germany, established an influential international banking system spanning major European cities like London and Vienna. Once the wealthiest family globally, they amassed the largest private wealth on the planet, especially flourishing after the downfall of Napoleon. However, in the modern era, their influence and wealth have diminished significantly. For his education, Jacob attended the prestigious Eton College as a child. Later, he pursued his studies at Christ Church, University of Oxford, graduating with first-class honors in history. In his personal life, Jacob Rothschild married Serena Mary Dunn, who happens to be the granddaughter of Canadian financier Sir James Dunn. Jacob's professional journey started in 1963 at the age of 27 when he joined the family-run bank, N.M. Rothschild and Sons in London, after completing his education. In 1980, due to family disputes, he resigned from the bank, but retained his shares in the Rothschild Investment Trust, which was listed on the London Stock Exchange. The reason why he resigned was because the chairmanship of the bank transitioned from his father to his distant cousin, Sir Evelyn Robert de Rothschild. Family disagreements disrupted the succession. Jacob chose to resign from the bank, parting ways with the institution where he had begun his business career. But he would move on to even greater things, as the Rothschild name is very powerful: his own career. Driven by the belief that his potential would not be fully realized within a company led by his cousin, Jacob Rothschild made the strategic decision to sell his minority stake in the business. This move marked his departure from the family business, leading him to take charge of the Rothschild Investment Trust. Then, in 1991, he ventured into founding the Rothschild Assurance Group. Additionally, he collaborated with Sir James Goldsmith and Kerry Packer in a joint but unsuccessful bid for British American Tobacco. Currently, Jacob serves as the chairman for Rothschild Investment Trust Capital Partner, a major investment trust listed on the London Stock Exchange. He also holds the position of chairman at Rothschild Capital Management, a subsidiary of RIT Capital. In real estate, he is regarded as the forefather of Xander Real Estate in India. Additionally, he lends his expertise to the advisory board of the Blackstone Group. His involvement even extends to the oil and energy sector, showing how diverse his business interests are. In his expansive career, Jacob Rothschild has been a member of the Council for the Duchy of Cornwall, serving the Prince of Wales. At the same time, he has been a member of the International Advisory Board of the Blackstone Group. Notably, until 2008, he held the position of chairman of B-Sky Television and director of Ripplewood Holdings Japan International. His influence goes beyond just business, as he was appointed commander of the Royal Victorian Order in the 2020 New Year Honours, recognizing his services to the Duchy of Cornwall. Philanthropy. Beyond his business engagements, Jacob Rothschild has played a significant role in arts philanthropy in Britain. Serving as chairman of trustees of the National Gallery from 1985 to 1991, and then chairing the National Heritage Memorial Fund from 1992 to 1998. He demonstrated a strong commitment to supporting the arts. Furthermore, he assumed the role of chairman of the British National Heritage Lottery Fund, overseeing the distribution of £1.2 billion in grants to the heritage sector. Jacob Rothschild has actively contributed to various cultural and philanthropic endeavors. His extensive involvement includes serving as a trustee for esteemed institutions such as the State Hermitage Museum of St. Petersburg and the Qatar Museums Authority. Furthermore, he assumed the role of chairman for significant organizations like the Pritzker Prize for Architecture, the Gilbert Collection Trust, and the Hermitage Development Trust at Somerset House. He also served as a trustee and honorary fellow of the Courtauld Institute, Somerset House, and held positions as a fellow, benefactor, and member of the visitors' committees of the Ashmolean Museum, Oxford. In recognition of his exceptional contributions to museology, art historical research, philanthropy, conservation, and conservation science, Jacob Rothschild was honored with the J. Paul Getty Medal in 2014. Jacob Rothschild was a pivotal figure in the restoration of Somerset House in London. He played a crucial role in securing the Gilbert Collection and ensuring the legacy of the Courtauld Institute of Art. Additionally, he personally undertook the restoration of Spencer House, a distinguished 18th-century London townhouse located near his offices. Collaborating with Baron Sainsbury of Preston Candover in 1993, he established the Butrint Foundation to document and preserve the archaeological site of Butrint in Albania. In 1998, Jacob inherited the Waddesdon and Eythrope estates in Buckinghamshire from his aunt, Dorothy de Rothschild. This inheritance marked the beginning of his close association with Waddesdon Manor, a property built by Baron Ferdinand de Rothschild in the 1880s. The estate was given to the National Trust in 1957 by James de Rothschild, Jacob's cousin. Jacob Rothschild has played a significant role in the restoration of Waddesdon Manor through a private family charitable trust. In a distinctive arrangement with the National Trust, Waddesdon is managed as a semi-independent operation. Under his patronage, Waddesdon Manor has served as a venue for visiting heads of state, hosting prominent figures such as Presidents Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton. Notably, Margaret Thatcher convened a summit with French President François Mitterrand at the estate in 1990, and Lord Rothschild hosted the European Economic Roundtable Conference there in 2002. Jacob Rothschild has actively continued the Rothschild family's philanthropic endeavors in Israel, holding the position of chairman of Yad Hanadiv, the family foundation responsible for providing the Knesset and the Supreme Court buildings to Israel. He also serves as president of the Rothschild Foundation Europe and holds the roles of patron and chairman of the board of trustees of the Rothschild Foundation. Additionally, he is the honorary president of the Institute for Jewish Policy Research. Jacob has contributed significantly to various organizations, serving as a member of the Arts and Humanities Research Board established by the British government. He is an honorary fellow of the British Academy and a trustee of the Prince of Wales Prince's Charities Foundation. Previously, he held roles such as member of the UK Main Honours Board, chairman of the Honours Committee for Arts and Media, trustee of the Edmund J. Safra Foundation, and member of the committee of the Henry J. Kravis Prize for Creative Philanthropy. But despite the philanthropic nature of Jacob Rothschild and his family, there have been accusations that the Rothschilds actually own way more than they claim to. Some even say that Jacob Rothschild owns everything in Africa. What do they really own? It started all the way back in the 19th century when J.A. Hobson, a Johannesburg correspondent, made a bold accusation. He said that a ring of Jewish international financiers controlled the most valuable resources of the South African Republic. This has led to people believing that the Rothschild family's influence extended to the establishment of central banks worldwide, consolidating immense wealth and power. By the year 2000, only 7 countries remained without a Rothschild-owned or controlled central bank: Afghanistan, Iraq, Sudan, Libya, Cuba, North Korea, and Iran. Some claim that the absence of Rothschild control in these nations coincided with them being targeted by Western media, that one of the primary reasons for these countries facing hostility was their lack of a Rothschild-owned central bank. Evidence of this is a little lacking, but let's take a deeper look into this rabbit hole. So how does this central bank scheme really work? The modus operandi to establish control involves enticing a country into accepting exorbitant loans, plunging them into debt with the central bank, and placing them under Rothschild influence. This strategic financial maneuver is the initial step in securing dominance over a nation's economic and political landscape. Some claim that the central banks are illegally created private banks. Normally, central banks are owned by the public, but some say that these central banks are actually the instrument through which the Rothschild banking family exerts its dominance. Most claim that the family has infiltrated developing nations worldwide through these loans, especially Africa. Through this, they can claim the natural resources of the area itself. This influence is claimed to stretch to the U.S. too. The U.S. Federal Reserve, often assumed to be a governmental entity, is claimed to be a privately owned company. Located on its own parcel of land, the Federal Reserve operates outside the jurisdiction of U.S. laws. This private enterprise, controlled by the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and Morgans, has the authority to print money for the U.S. government, which, in return, pays interest for this favor. Resetting the nation's debt today would immediately place the U.S. in debt to the Federal Reserve from the inception of the first dollar loaned to the government. Two megabanks, the World Bank and the IMF, wield significant influence by extending loans to countries worldwide. The World Bank, jointly owned by the world's top banking families with the Rothschilds at its pinnacle, and the IMF, privately owned solely by the Rothschilds, utilize loans with nearly insurmountable interest rates as a means to acquire tangible wealth such as land and precious metals. These financial institutions, however, go beyond mere lending. Their modus operation involves exploiting a country's natural resources, such as oil or gas, through companies covertly owned by them. The extracted resources are then refined and sold back to the same country, ensuring substantial profits. To facilitate the operations of these companies, robust infrastructure is required. As such, the banking elite ensures that a significant portion of the loans offered to developing countries is allocated to infrastructure development. The execution of these arrangements is handled by people known as economic hitmen. These individuals use a dual strategy of lucrative rewards, often in the form of bribes, and coercive threats, including the risk of death, to manipulate key figures into selling their country's resources. Because the IMF and the World Bank are claimed to be owned by the Rothschilds, Jacob Rothschild has been accused of being the Jewish man who owns everything in Africa. But how did the Rothschilds even achieve such financial success? Origins. Born in 1744, Mayer Amschel Rothschild grew up in the confines of Frankfurt's Judengasse, where Jewish residents faced stringent restrictions. Hindered by overcrowded and harsh conditions, they were subjected to curfews, limitations on public activities, and restrictions on group gatherings. Mayer Rothschild's initiation into business started at a young age, under the mentorship of his father, Amschel Moses Rothschild, who engaged in silk cloth trading and currency exchange. Mayer's early responsibilities included sorting coins amassed during Frankfurt's semi-annual trade fairs, attracting traders from far and wide. Tragedy struck at the age of 12 when Mayer lost both parents to smallpox. Sent to Hanover to apprentice with Simon Wolf Oppenheimer, a prominent Jewish banking house, Mayer delved into foreign trade and finance. His exposure extended to rare coins from ancient Rome, Persia, and the Byzantine Empire, which were placed in high esteem by collectors. Those who engaged in transactions with these collectors were known as court Jews or court factors, conducting business with nobility. Returning to Frankfurt in 1763 at the age of 19, Mayer reunited with his brothers to continue the trading legacy initiated by their father. Specializing in rare coins, Mayer secured the patronage of Crown Prince Wilhelm of Hesse, previously a client of Mayer's father. This association evolved beyond coin transactions. It dealt with various financial services and fostered ties with other nobles. Crown Prince Wilhelm, who later assumed the title Wilhelm IX, Landgrave of Hesse-Kassel, had immense wealth. In 1769, Mayer sought the prestigious title of court factor or crown agent from Wilhelm. This honorary designation symbolized Mayer's services to royalty, allowing him to display a shield with the Hesse and Hanau coat of arms, which was visible proof of his connection with nobility. A major event happened in the year 1770 when Mayer Rothschild married Gutla Schamper, the daughter of a money changer and court factor. They had 10 children, 5 sons and 5 daughters, expanding the Rothschild family legacy. Expansion. During the chaotic era of the French Revolution, the Rothschild banking empire experienced swift expansion under the shrewd guidance of Mayer Rothschild. Mayer played a crucial role in facilitating payments from Britain for the enlistment of Hessian mercenary soldiers. In the early 1800s, Mayer strategically dispatched his sons to various European capitals, with branches established in Naples, Vienna, Paris, and London, while maintaining a presence in Frankfurt. This visionary move transformed the Rothschild family into a pioneering multinational bank, breaking new ground by going outside their borders. Over the course of several centuries, the Rothschilds capitalized on lending to governments involved in war efforts, accumulating bonds, and diversifying their wealth across various industries. Before the death of Mayer Rothschild, he left very careful instructions for his successors, which consisted of a strict patrilineal system of succession to safeguard the family's fortune. The will stated that titles and property could only pass through the male lineage, excluding female descendants from direct inheritance. This design aimed to preserve wealth within the family. Between 1824 and 1877, Mayer Rothschild's male descendants showcased an odd pattern. They entered into 36 marriages, with 30 of them taking place within the family. Most unions involved first or second cousins. This was a deliberate strategy to keep familial ties. Only 4 Rothschild women and 2 men chose partners outside the family during this period. Among the adventurous Rothschild sons who went beyond familial circles, Nathan, the third son, achieved a lot of success. Nathan's journey started in 1798 when he established a textile business in Manchester, England, later transitioning to banking in London and founding N.M. Rothschild in 1810. Remarkably, N.M. Rothschild & Sons continues its operations to this day. As of 2022, the bank reported robust figures, with 2.9 billion euros in revenue, 606 million euros in net income, and assets under management totaling to about 101 billion euros. Similar to other Rothschild banks, N.M. Rothschild & Sons played a pivotal role by extending credit to the British government during periods of crisis. Throughout the Napoleonic Wars, the bank not only managed and financed subsidies sent to allies, but also provided funds for the payment of British troops, essentially shouldering the financial burden of the entire war effort. In 1824, Nathan Rothschild collaborated with Moses Montefiore to establish the Alliance Assurance Company, a venture that remains part of the Royal and Son Alliance Insurance Group today. Nathan's strategic move in 1835 secured rights to mercury mines in Spain, granting the Rothschilds a de facto world monopoly on this critical chemical element essential for refining gold and silver. This strategic supply was invaluable in 1852 when N.M. Rothschild & Sons commenced the refining of gold and silver for the Bank of England and the Royal Mint. Nathan Rothschild made significant contributions to the Jewish community. The family's philanthropic endeavors expanded to include broader populations in Paris and London. Nathan's initial efforts focused on synagogues in London, laying the groundwork for the formation of the United Synagogue, an entity streamlining the causes of smaller synagogues. After that, the family directed support toward the development of Israel, contributing to the construction of housing and government buildings. In terms of charitable foundations, Nathan's youngest child, Louise, and her 7 daughters assumed responsibility for numerous Rothschild foundations in Frankfurt. These foundations had public libraries, orphanages, hospitals, homes for the elderly, and special funds reserved for educational purposes. The Jews' Free School in London was a major beneficiary of Rothschild's financial support. Their generosity extended to Austria, France, and Israel, fostering educational initiatives. Beyond monetary contributions to education, the Rothschild family donated an estimated 60,000 pieces of artwork to public institutions. Additionally, they played a crucial role in expanding social housing in London and Paris, leading to the establishment of the Rothschild Foundation to further these endeavors. But all this success and philanthropy came with its fair share of trials, the loss of their fortune. Over the course of the next century, the Rothschild fortune underwent a significant decline due to wars, political upheavals, and internal family rivalries. The Naples branch of the bank closed its doors in 1863, and the Frankfurt branch followed suit in 1901 due to a lack of male heirs. The Vienna branch met a similar fate in 1938 when the Nazi invasion of Austria and the ensuing danger to Jews led to its closure. Throughout the war, the Vichy government in France seized Rothschild's Bordeaux properties, while the Nazis confiscated millions of dollars worth of art and precious objects from the Austrian branch. Although a portion of these items was returned by the Austrian government in 1998, the family's palatial estates were gradually donated to the British and French governments, as well as various organizations and universities. By the 1970s, only 3 Rothschild banks remained: the London and Paris branches, and a Swiss bank established by Edmond Adolphe de Rothschild. In 1982, the Paris bank faced a fatal blow when President François Mitterrand's socialist government nationalized it and renamed it Compagnie Européenne de Banque. Despite his independent stance, Edmond came to the aid of his cousin, Baron David René James de Rothschild, who chose to remain in Paris. In 1987, Baron David created Rothschild and CA Bank, and by 2003, the British and French banks were united under David's chairmanship. In 2008, all holdings underwent a comprehensive reorganization, consolidating under a single company that served as a shareholder of Paris Orleans based in France. This marked a unification of the family businesses approximately 2 centuries after the 5 sons of Meyer Rothschild had spread out across Europe. Where's the money now? Over the years, family wealth has been distributed among descendants and heirs. Presently, Rothschild's diverse holdings span various industries, like financial services, real estate, mining, energy, and charitable work. Additionally, the family owns more than a dozen wineries worldwide. Traditionally, the Rothschild fortune finds its investments in closely held corporations. Presently, Rothschild corporations continue to thrive, with most family members either directly employed by these corporations or invested in operations that contribute to the family's wealth. The family's remarkable success can be attributed to a strong commitment to cooperation, entrepreneurial spirit, and the application of sound business principles. Nathan Rothschild's estate was linked to the collective wealth of the family, forming part of the inheritance passed down through generations. Rothschild descendants play a major role in financing global business operations and actively contribute to scholarly, humanitarian, cultural, and business initiatives. The family's motto is Concordia, Integritas, Industria, which translates to harmony, integrity, and industry. The Rothschild Group holds ownership stakes in numerous companies, including Air Products and Chemicals, Duke Energy, Glencore, Alliant Energy, Mitsubishi, First Energy, and Fortis. Leading the Rothschild family is none other than Jacob Rothschild, the 4th Baron Rothschild. But he is not the most wealthy Rothschild. David Mayer de Rothschild is the richest Rothschild that's alive today. He is an environmentalist and an explorer with a net worth of around $10 billion. As one of the oldest, wealthiest, and most illustrious families in history, the Rothschild family has deep roots in banking. Over the centuries, they have diversified their wealth into various businesses, maintaining significant power and financial influence. Before we move on, it's time for today's subscriber pick. This is the Jewish man who owns everything in Africa. Many people are starting to believe that the world is controlled by an elite 1% of the population. But some go even beyond that and say that the Rothschild family controls not only the rest of the world, but also that elite 1%. The Rothschild family is said to have a wealth of $5 trillion, and the head of the family is none other than Jacob Rothschild. Are these stories true? And where's the proof? That's where you, the viewer, come in. Comment down below if you know anything about the $5 trillion wealth of Jacob Rothschild. What more is there to this story? Why would anyone even amass that much money? Remember to use the hashtag #subscriberpick to let us know your answers. Now let's move on to the next part of Jacob's story. He retired. 4 decades ago, Jacob Rothschild made a bold move. Following a family dispute, he turned away from the wealth of Europe's largest banking dynasty to pursue his own interests. Today, though retired, Jacob Rothschild's company has made many milestones in the ongoing legacy of a banking dynasty that spans across France, Switzerland, and Britain. Rothschild and his direct family hold the largest stakes in RIT Capital Partners, the investment vehicle that saw a 7.4% return in 2019, elevating his personal wealth to over $1 billion. At the age of 83, Jacob Rothschild declared his retirement as RIT's chairman in 2019, ending a 6-decade career on the financial markets front lines. During the company's 2019 annual general meeting in London, Jacob assured that he and his family would remain substantial shareholders, eliminating the risk of a substantial sale that could adversely impact the firm's share price. Succession plans had been established for several years, and Rothschild maintains an indirect involvement with the company. An analyst said that this move was changing the guard, but not changing the philosophy of the company. Normally in the past, with family companies like this, there was a big gap left in leadership when the lead investor took a back seat and retired. But the company made a lot of efforts to stop that from happening. This company wouldn't be as successful as it was if Jacob never left his family fortune back then. It was around 150 years after Nathan Rothschild founded the bank in 1810 when Jacob arrived at this crossroads. Jacob faced opposition in broadening the bank's services from his father, Victor, and cousin Evelyn. Evelyn succeeded Victor as the chairman of N.M. Rothschild and Sons in 1976. These disagreements are why Jacob left the firm. According to historians, the company was too concerned with preserving the family's control to the point where they sacrificed their expansion potential. This caused a major problem between members of the English branch of the family. Consolidating control, N.M. Rothschild and Sons merged with the Paris-based bank associated with the French branch of the family in 2012. Simultaneously, the Swiss branch, linked to Edmond de Rothschild Suisse, aims to privatize the Geneva-based bank, part of its strategy for expansion. Originally named Rothschild Investment Trust, RIT rebranded to its acronym after Jacob's departure from the UK business. Despite the absence of the Rothschild name, the alteration hasn't hurt its performance. Since its introduction on the London Stock Exchange in 1988, following the deregulation of the city's financial markets, the investment trust has witnessed a growth of over 1,500%, surpassing the market value of both the Swiss and French Rothschild banks. Over a variety of asset classes and market cycles, there aren't many who've delivered returns similar to Jacob Rothschild's in the same period. He really looks into the details. If you're putting forward a proposal to him, you seriously have to know your stuff. A balanced investment philosophy has attracted investors over that time, shielding shareholders in market downturns while providing long-term growth. Investing in the company is very much a tortoise rather than a hare, according to analysts. It's a good choice for a more conservative portfolio or could be used to form the foundation of a long-term portfolio. Jacob Rothschild's reputation also strongly influences investors. Educated at Eton College and the University of Oxford, he became a partner at N.M. Rothschild and Sons 4 years after joining the family bank and headed its corporate finance department. In addition to RIT, he co-founded the Financial Times Stock Exchange 100 asset manager St. James's Place, and was part of a trio that collaborated 3 decades ago in a $21 billion failed hostile takeover for British American Tobacco. RIT is closely associated with Jacob Rothschild. It offers investors exposure to an almost unparalleled network of contacts. It's a very powerful brand. Despite having at least $1 billion to his name, Jacob is still far from being the wealthiest member of the clan. Just within the British branch, Nathan accumulated a fortune that would be valued at more than £10 billion or $13 billion today. The RIT stake, from which Jacob and his family derive benefits, competes with the Rothschild clan's primary $840 million holding in their French bank. Evelyn de Rothschild had sold his shares in the holding company for the family's banking assets in 2007 for about $220 million. A significant portion of Jacob Rothschild's wealth comes from the inheritance he obtained after the death of his distant cousin Dorothy in 1988. Valued at £76 million, It constituted part of Britain's largest will at that time. This inheritance also gave him the responsibility of managing Waddesdon Manor. Jacob Rothschild oversees the manor through a charity, which had $600 million in assets by the end of 2017. While these assets account for about 10% of RIT, Jacob's personal wealth is still in the billions. After Jacob's retirement, James Lee Pemberton assumed the position of RIT chairman. The son of a former Bank of England governor, Lee Pemberton currently holds the same title at the UK Treasury unit established in 2008 to manage stakes it acquired in struggling British banks following the global financial crash. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.